Sonoro Gold hat die im vergangenen Jahr auf dem Cerro Caliche durchgeführten Bohrungen in eine aktualisierte Ressourceneinschätzung einarbeiten lassen. Mit ihr macht Cerro Caliche einen wesentlichen Schritt nach vorn in Richtung auf den Produktionsbeginn. Denn ein großer Teil der Ressource, der bislang in der abgeleiteten Kategorie zugehörig war, konnte nun in die höhere Kategorie der angezeigten Ressource überführt werden. Doch die überarbeitete Ressource, die hat bei einigen Anlegern auch Fragen aufgeworfen. Da nach den teils sehr guten Bohrergebnissen im letzten Jahr eine vielleicht etwas höhere Ressource erwartet wurde, als sich auf den ersten Blick entdecken lässt. Executive Chairman John Darch hat sich im Anschluss in einem Brief an die Aktionäre gewandt und einen positiven Ausblick in die Zukunft des Projekts gegeben. In einem Interview verrät er uns jetzt, was es damit genau auf sich hat.
Yes, well, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk here. Yeah, much appreciated. And the reason I put out the chairman's letter is precisely for the reasons that you said, which is that people were expecting there to be maybe a significant more number of ounces out there. Is this disappointing? You know, what's happening? Where is the mining license? What is happening with the financing? So we put out a very straightforward news release, and it was produced and agreed with SRK, our consultants. Now, SRK are very highly regarded US consultants, an excellent reputation, well known in Mexico, highly respected by financial people, etc. And the beauty is the people who did the work at SRK actually went to the property. They visited the property, they met our team, they took all the raw data, and they went back to square one. So this is not building upon the previous report. This is a totally new one. Now, two things happened as a result of that. One, of course, is unfortunately, there was a delay of about 2 months or more. Now, we cannot control how quickly consultants work. We did go through the Christmas and New Year period, which of course people have other obligations, etc. But what we do have now is the fundamental part of a report that will be coming out soon. The drilling results will come out and will be included in a technical report, which we anticipate will be out within the next 4 weeks. Now, the important part of the drilling result, which I will say now, shows that it includes all the updated 7,200 meters of additional drilling, including higher grades. So everything is there. We have completed, I think, something of the order of 59,000 meters of drilling. So we know that we have a large mineralized area, and we know from SRK's report that it's sufficient to support a mining operation. And that, I think, is the key part we wanted to convey to everybody, which is the ounces we have. Look at it on the basis that Sonoro had a business plan from day one, which was to go to production with the minimum number of ounces to have a commercial operation and then expand beyond that. Now, yes, it's taken longer than we anticipated, but there are always circumstances beyond our control. The price of gold, market sentiment, consultants' other engagements, whatever. It's called life. And so we are now in that great position of having the SRK initial report. And in the next short while, we are completing the economics surrounding it. Now, that is being done initially by our team, vetted by an independent party, and that will then go back to SRK. And what I conveyed in my chairman's letter was words along the lines, which is, we are now looking at the optimum size of the initial mining operation. Now, the key thing is the initial operation. Our target is 15,000 tons a day, clearly. Associated with that, of course, is a high capital cost, an operation that size. So we are now in discussions with SRK and our technical people that perhaps we start off at a lower tonnage per day. And perhaps we can go to an area where the grade's higher. As you know, with additional drilling, we found some exceptional grades there. Now, that will not all be included because there was insufficient drilling, but sufficient enough to know that we believe we probably have a location where we can start at a higher grade. So we could, in theory, have a lower number of tonnage per day, but if the grade were, say, almost double, then of course the revenue compensate for that. And the other part that has to be taken into consideration is that a lower level of operation initially is good for the company. It's good for the company insofar as the capital cost will be less. That means when we're dealing with our project lender, the amount of money that the company will require is less. There's a possibility, or a probability, maybe a better word, that the equipment that we were looking to purchase, perhaps we lease them instead. All these, Jan, have an impact of reducing the capital cost. That's good for the lender, it reduces the risk. It's good for our shareholders, it reduces the risk. It also reduces any potential dilution that may be there.
John Darch berichtet also, dass aus Sicht des Management erst einmal alles nach Plan läuft. Es gab zwar Verzögerungen bei der Aktualisierung der Ressourceneinschätzung, was aber durch äußere Faktoren wie den externen Team von SRK zurückzuführen ist. Demnach bleibt das Team rund um John Darch und CEO Kenneth MacLeod auch in seinem Businessplan treu. Schnell in Produktion gehen, um mit dem ersten Cashflow den weiteren Aufbau des Projekts zu finanzieren. Dem will das Team nun ganz besonders auf die Produktion schauen. Geplant sind hier 15.000 Tonnen pro Tag zu verarbeiten. Laut John kann es aber sein, dass Sonoro erst einmal mit einer niedrigeren Produktionsrate pro Tag beginnt. Dafür wird dann aber das Material des Projekts genutzt, was nachweislich eine höhere Dichte von Gold hat. Somit sinken die Kosten für die erste Produktion bei ähnlichen Einnahmen, was zu der Minimierung von Risiken beitragen soll. Nun hat uns John Darch aber noch erzählt, wie sich die aktualisierte Unzenzahl der Firma zusammensetzt.
SRK are governed by their own guidelines, which were different from our previous independent engineers. And under their guidelines, SRK have moved everything basically into the indicated and inferred. Now, initially we thought, well, what's wrong with the measured? And when they came back to us and said, look, the nature of this deposit, you don't need to go to measured. Indicated, inferred, with a little bit more drilling, they will increase those ounces to indicated, and that should be sufficient to move forward to production. And in fact, in our discussions with our favorite lender at this stage, and we do have several possibilities, they're quite happy with the indicated. And so if we take it as we are now, SRK and the lender have said there's really no need to do additional drilling. What you've done is in accordance with your business plan. That business plan is very sound. And so move as swiftly as possible to production. That will then enable us to generate revenues, and we will able then to increase the number of ounces. And I'd stress also, if you take, and I'm going to use gold equivalent, it's only a small amount of silver, so it's basically all gold anyway. But if you take what's in the indicated, which I think is shown here at 290,000 ounces, you add to that the inferred, that will take us up then to 440,000 ounces. And unfortunately, what happens with some people, they say, oh, is that what you have? All you have? And it's very, very important to understand this is the beginning of the journey. It's not the end of the journey. This is what we want to move forward. So add to that what SRK put in their report. It's about the potential for an additional 125,000 ounces to 285,000 ounces. If on, quote, the low side, it was 125,000 ounces, that would take it to 565,000 ounces. Take on the upper range, which is not conclusive, that would take it to 725,000 ounces. And if you consider this is only less than 30% of the known mineralized areas, which we know are there because of drilling, crosscuts, etc. So the potential of this resource, we strongly believe, is well in excess of 1 million ounces.
Die Firma SRK hat also eigene Guidelines, die deutlich strenger sind als die Guidelines anderer Firmen, welche solche Ressourcenstatements rausgeben können. Man kann sich das also in etwa so vorstellen wie der strenge Professor im Studium, bei dem eine 2 besser ist als eine 1 bei einem anderen Professor, der nur mit Noten so um sich wirft. Das wirkt in der Außenwahrnehmung erst einmal schlechter, ist aber gut, wenn es dann ins Eingemachte geht. So berichtet John Darch, dass der von Sonoro favorisierte Project Lender durchaus mit den Unzen in der Kategorie Indicated zufrieden wäre. SRK ermutigt Sonoro außerdem, seinen Plan weiter zu verfolgen. Geht John Darch darauf ein, dass erst knapp 30% der Liegenschaft exploriert wurden und die 1 Million Unzen auf dem Projekt durchaus nach wie vor realistisch sind.
Now people think in terms, oh, you must have the gold first, you must drill first to show you have 1 million, and then you go to production. No, our model has never been that way. Our model is to start off as quickly as possible. And the only adjustment I think we will make is the initial stage. The ultimate is still to go to 15,000 tons. That might take a few years. But initially, if we are able now to conclude the financing, get the mining license, and move to production, we would anticipate that we'll find that the estimated capital costs will fall. We would hope that the operating costs would fall, and the overall profitability of the mine will increase. And if we take what we do have now and recognize that the ounces will support the first 7, 8 years of mining, during that time period, additional drilling from the revenue from the mine will enable us to put some infill drilling into the inferred, to move that to the indicated, start to step out into other known areas where we know there's mineralization, and add to that. So the potential here, in my opinion, is really good. And don't forget that we announced some really spectacular drilling results last year. There were some areas of 22 grams, 40 grams, 10 grams, whatever, numbers that you would normally see in an underground mining operation. And these are near surface. However, insufficient drilling has been done in those areas to know the extent of it. So naturally, SRK is not able to include those ounces, but we feel very comfortable that with some additional drilling, some infill holes, we may well come up with some very high grades. Now, that would mean a different style of operation to deal with if there's a lot of high grade, but that's a good problem to have. At the moment, what we're looking to do is to maintain our business plan, go to production, open pitable, revenue stream that will deal with the project financing, reduce the project financing as much as possible by the size and also potentially leasing. And then as we are drilling more, if we do find that we have an extension of the high grade at El Colorado and Guadalupe, if they are connected, and I use the word if, because we don't know, if they are connected and there is a deposit eventually of a higher grade, there could, in theory, be two operations. Even though the higher grade is close to surface and could be easily accessed, it would still require a different type of processing. So the chairman's letter was in an effort to explain to the shareholders, don't take the news release and be disappointed with the ounces. Take the news release as a confirmation that there's a resource there, a mineralized area there, which will be defined as the resource when we get our technical reports, which will support a mining operation, which then will generate revenue, which will then mean an end to dilution. So we're in a very, very positive position at the moment.
John Darch geht also noch einmal darauf ein, dass die Anleger auf Basis der vorliegenden Untersuchung von SRK und der damit verbundenen Bestätigung einer Ressource vor Ort positiv in die Zukunft blicken sollen. SRK Consulting hat, was auch sehr ungewöhnlich ist, schon jetzt durchblicken lassen, dass auf der Basis der vorliegenden Daten an einen Erfolg des Minenprojekts geglaubt werden darf. Und das tut nun auch das Team von Sonoro Gold. Doch es gibt neben der überarbeiteten Ressource noch ein weiteres Thema, über das die Firma offen kommuniziert. Denn nach wie vor fehlt dem Unternehmen die Mining-Lizenz. Und John wird uns einmal erklären, wie der Stand in diesem Prozess derzeit ist und die Kommunikation mit den Behörden abläuft.
What we can say at this stage is that we continue to work with Semina. As mentioned in my chairman's letter, we work with them. We have nothing that would indicate there's going to be any issue. But there is frustration because of delays, and we understand that in Mexico, as with everyone else, with COVID, many people were laid off, many people have not come back. They may have backlogs, they may have many things. But what we do know is that we continue to relate to them in a very positive manner, and we always avoid being aggressive. We want to work in a cooperative manner, respond to any questions that come up. And we are comfortable that we will have the mere granted. I can't say when it's going to happen, because every time we believe something's going to happen, there's another hurdle that we face. But in terms of the challenges that we as a company face, consider the fact that we're in an area where we're surrounded by operations. We're on one piece of land owned by a farmer who's very cooperative. We have the Sonoro state very supportive of us. So there's no reason in our minds to think that it will not proceed. Time will tell. So let me conclude, if I may, by saying shareholders should remember what we've tried to relay, which is why Sonoro, what makes us distinctive in this sector. And for the sake of repeating it, I will say we do have the essential 5 components. The people comprising of experienced, successful geologists, mining engineers, financial people, marketing people, each have some 35 years experience and combined as one team, one project. This is not one of a half a dozen projects. So very conscientious, very skilled, all together as one project. And what's the demonstration of their commitment to the company and their belief is the fact that the insiders have about 26% of the issued shares. Now that's significant for a small company. So clearly the insiders believe what they're doing. We provide bridging loans, pending completions of financings. We participate in each of the financings. So at our shareholder base, which is important, that's another essential component. Not only do we have a 26% interest, we have another major, well-known investor in North America who holds maybe almost 9%, the largest shareholder, Tukey Angus, very highly respected in the mining business. He's been with us since day one, a great advisor to the company. And then, of course, in Germany, we have probably the highest number of shareholders in Germany, primarily retail, but also we do have the more wealthy individuals from Germany and also from Switzerland. And I would say that Germany probably accounts for maybe about 20% of the issued shares, but they certainly account for over 50% of the trading volume and shareholders in number. Okay, so the 2 of the 5 essential components, the people, the capital structure, the commitment. The other one, of course, is the property, which we've touched on. Our belief that we're at the beginning of the journey, and that's most important, that we do potentially have over 1 million ounces. So that's 3. The other is the business plan. A lot of smaller companies only have an option of finding a major company to acquire them. They may not have the experience, or if they do, they don't have the capital, or the project is so significant in size that the capital required is well beyond their ability. So why are we different? It's because we do have the capability of doing it ourselves. We've shown that. We've never wavered from our business plan. We've been on time. We've been within budget for everything that we can control. And so if you look at that, the ability that we have to take this to production is significant. The last thing then is the availability of equity, a very important factor. And what have we shown in the last 2-3 years? Repeatedly, our ability to raise funds, often done at a premium to the market, always supported by our German shareholders, always supported by our insiders. So when we approach something, we look at it on the basis of saying, the people who are with the company are here because they expect us to go to production. And we are making that commitment to go into production. We've been invited to look at mergers with other companies. We've been invited to consider all sorts of things. But if it doesn't fit in with our plan of minimum dilution to shareholders, going early to production, then we're letting things pass. So Sonoro, I would think, is in probably the best position it's ever been in. The share price may not reflect that, I sympathize with the shareholders. My cost is probably 19 to 20 cents a share. So I'm in here with everybody. In fact, all the insiders are 19 to 20 cents. They don't sell the shares. They add to their positions. So to the shareholders of Sonoro, I would say, look to the company's management and their commitment to the company. Look at their investment. Look at their plan. Does it make sense to you? Does it make sense that we as a company will continue to strive to go to production?
Wir haben hier also eine Firma, die seit Jahren ihrem Businessplan nachgeht und diesen bestmöglich einhält. Ein Team, welches selber im Schnitt mit 19 kanadischen Cent in die Firma investiert ist und an jedem Placement teilnimmt und eine aktualisierte Ressource, die auf einen Erfolg des Projekts blicken lässt. Insgesamt stehen die Chancen für Sonoro Gold, wie John Darch, der Chairman, berichtet, also sehr gut. Wir dürfen gespannt sein, wie es hier in den kommenden Monaten weitergeht. Auch die PEA ist, wie John verraten hat, gar nicht mehr so weit entfernt und da könnte es also zu spannenden Änderungen in der Firma kommen. Weitere News zu Sonoro Gold findet ihr auf axinocapital.de/sonoro. Dort gibt es wie immer alles auf Deutsch. Falls ihr Fragen zur Firma habt, schreibt sie gerne unten in die Kommentare und lasst uns einmal wissen, glaubt ihr an den Erfolg von Sonoro Golds Goldproduktion?